It was always the women, and above all, the young ones who were the most bigoted adherents of the party, the swallowers of slogans, the amateur spies, the rooters out, and the Stasi Karens. All right, Orwell didn't say that last part, but it looks like this week we even beat Orwell. Overwhelming majorities of women across the board rejected what they'd been sold, but the ones that are anchored are dug in deep, and that was just as predictable. Case in point, Susanna Smith, PhD. There is a reason why educated people vote blue. What we're seeing is the uneducated population of America holding the rest of the country hostage. That's why there's such a push to weaken education, ban books, and outlaw the teaching of Black history by the Republican Party. None of which is true, by the way, but why wouldn't you feel that way if all you'd been watching is this fella? Liking the Lord of the Rings is far right. Yeah, just like everything is racist up to and including mathematics, traditional logic, showing up on time for work. I'm not making these up, by the way. You can feel free to Google it. Every one of those things was considered racist, and this fellow was the one who was pushing that. J.D. Vance's rapid rise, fueled by tech billionaire, said you could see the underline right up here, liking Lord of the Rings for right. Yes, J.D. Vance likes J.R.R. Tolkien. So do most people. And here we have the problem. It's the disconnect. These people within these echo chambers, they literally don't hear anything outside this trap of rhetoric. I understand why they feel that way. I truly do. I believe it's probably right to have a certain amount of visceral hatred for the people who are pushing these false narratives, but for the majority of people that buy them, you really can't blame those people any more than you could blame people who fell under the spell of Soviet communism or Chairman Mao and his Great Leap Forward. The base majority of people are not critical thinkers. The base majority of people are not that sharp. And when you have something as overwhelming as the power of propaganda, and we do in this country, it's very easy to see how people fall into it. But thankfully, as I've said, and as I believe we had proven on Tuesday, fundamentally, people are suckers for the truth. You can only tell people that things are going fantastic for so long and it not be going well at all before finally they have to refuse that final command of the party, getting back to Orwell, which is to ignore the evidence of their own eyes and ears. Fundamentally, people are suckers for the truth. Disproportionately on X, I'm seeing moms on Facebook asking for advice how to calm down their terrified children who want to leave the country, and there's only one good answer. Parents, you need to knock this off. You are messing up your kids, and they will never be well if you continue fear-mongering. All of their anxiety and fear is your fault, and you are responsible for fixing it before it's too late. Whether or not they will remains to be seen. Whether or not they even care, the ones who are truly entrenched in party rhetoric even care enough about their children rather than parading their trans status around like a status symbol remains to be seen, and I really don't know which way it's going to go. The only thing they had in their quiver was abortion. The Republicans are going to sign a nationwide abortion ban. None of that was true either, but they sold it to us the same way they always do. Rape and incest, you're going to be forced to carry the child. First of all, every law that's been laid down so far based on the removal of Roe versus Wade has had exceptions for rape and incest. But as they tell us when we say, hey, 7 states have quantified into law abortion right up until the moment of birth, well, don't bring up those rare examples. And yet they will throw out rape and incest, even though less than 0.1% in any given calendar year resulted from an incestuous relationship when taken to the abortion clinic. 15/100ths of 1% resorted from rape. only 0.2%. Woman's life was in danger. You can do the rest of the math. And I'm sorry, I misstated that first one. It was 1/100th of 1%. In any case, guys, you can read. And we do, which is why we don't buy the nonsense. 74.9, that's almost 3/4 of abortions were elective surgeries. Abortion is birth control. Now, I'm of the opinion that abortion is murder, but I'm totally okay with murder. That's the weird flip side of that. But you don't get to end a viable life, whether it's inside your body or out, and treat it like it's no different from removing a slab of earwax. But it was left to the states, as it should have been. But if they cared so much about children, maybe they would care so much about these. Because of the 325,000 that were lost in less than 4 years. Once Homeland Security removed all of those Trump executive orders, including the one requiring cheek swabs and DNA identification. They're separating families. No, they are separating children from chicken hawks. But they wouldn't know that either, because all they know is the narrative that they've been fed. And even if you did feed them a real narrative, no truer words have ever been spoken. Most people don't really want the truth. They just want a constant reassurance that what they believe is the truth, which is why even with the abundance of social media outlets, even with the abundance of alternative news sources, they keep coming back to that Maddow fella and his crew over at MSNBC. They keep coming back because they don't want to entertain the possibility that they could have been wrong. The basic tool for the manipulation of reality is manipulation of words. If you can control the meaning of words, you can control the people who must use the words. If you control the stimulus, you control the response. If you control the perception, you control 9/10 of a person's reality. How many times have we been over that on the program? And 9/10 of their reality is coming from that Maddow fellow and company. 9/10 of reality is coming from the 90% of mainstream media that is entirely controlled by the left. But the left will assure us that progressives can't possibly be the oppressors because they are the resistance, you see. They have no institutional power. They're certainly not backed up by mainstream media or academia or, for the last 4 years, the presidency and at least one House of Congress. No, it couldn't have been that. But thankfully, we seem to have moved past it, at least for the moment. I understand how a lot of those people are feeling. For 4 years, I was apprehensive, and going into election night, I was apprehensive as well. Because no matter how much you try to be a critical thinker, when you are overwhelmed by outside propaganda, it does tend to color your judgment. I had some legitimate worries going into election night. As it turns out, those worries were unfounded, because it turned out, wait, it didn't turn out like this at all. No, this was what we were sold it was going to turn out as. This is what we were sold were the insurmountable odds, that it was going to be 303 to 235 in favor of the cackling Jezebel, but that isn't how it turned out at all. No, in fact, it turned out 312 electoral votes to 226 for the cackling Jezebel. That's right. Darth Cheeto carried the day. Not only did he carry the day, but he carried the popular vote as well in both houses of Congress as of this moment, even though folks like Kari Lake and I believe one gentleman in Pennsylvania are still fighting to carry those Senate seats and congressional seats, because there was malfeasance, just as there was in 2020. They just couldn't predict the malfeasance. That's why so many left-wing sources are out there going, what happened to our missing 15 million votes? What happened to our missing 17 million votes? The vote counts remain consistent across the last 6 elections, with the notable exception of 2020, which Trump clearly won by a landslide if we factor in the anomalies. But as Lonzo says in Training Day, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. And when you have courts that are refusing to hear it, not because of the information, but because of matters of standing, then that's going to carry into the mainstream narrative too. None of this matters. It was a win. As I have told you guys, especially the Black Pill guys and Neil Ross, the line to kiss my ass starts with you, Black Pill boy. Yes, they tried, but they couldn't pull it off twice in a row. And we carry the day and have 4 more years of breathing room. And that's all fine and good. And there'll be the hate, and there'll be the accusations, and it'll be the same names they've been calling us for the last 4 years. 8 years, if we're honest. None of it matters anymore. I'm reminded of Green Mile. I'm tired, boss. Mostly I'm tired of people being ugly to each other. We aren't the ones who picked this fight. But now that we are in the catbird seat, we are the ones who decide how to handle this fight from here on out. At least for the next 2 years, we control the Oval Office in both houses. We can decide whether we want it to continue to be ugly, take it to the next level of ugly, or whether we actually decide to act like grown-ups. Now, I'm not saying that we roll over and play dead in the face of the constant pressure from people who would love to see us gulagged or dead, to people who are actually going to push to see us gulagged or dead, to people who actually will resort to violence in the streets before this is over with. You know it, I know it. I'm not saying that we should roll over and play dead for them. What I'm saying is that we have a popular mandate. By any measure, by any definition, by any reasonable criteria, we have a popular mandate, and there is much more important work to be done than calling names. We need to take advantage of the time that we have. At least 2 years before the midterms, we hold all the cards. And no matter what they have to say about it, we have the popular mandate to act. If we refuse to do so or neglect to do so because of being caught up in distractions or even on the other side of the coin, trying to be the bigger person, we will be unceremoniously swept out in 2 to 4 years, and we will have deserved every bit of it. This may be the last opportunity that we have. And I suggest that we step up to that mantle and exercise every bit of power that we hold for as long as they hold it. Being too nice of a guy is what got us into this position, and they certainly will not return the courtesy. Talking is nothing. We need to act. The opinions expressed by the Reverend are his own and no one else's on the planet. Not friends, not foes, not supporters, not detractors, not sponsors, and certainly not employers. For the sake of you docs, happy Antifa maggots out there, they have been adjudicated thought crime in all jurisdictions. Consider yourself warned. They are coming from the heart. They are guided by the mind. They are guaranteed to stretch open that unwilling maw and choke you with a turgid, thorny, swollen, oozing dose of post-election truth cock. Taking it back to school, boys and girls. We won. Welcome back. Once again, it is time for your post-election special Saturday edition of the Sunday Sermon. We don't need to get cocky. This is the last thing we need to do, but we need to look at it realistically. Right now, I want to look at who's on board. Everybody in for the drum roll, please. Yes, indeed. Coming hard, charging out of the starting gate as we always do with a little bit of Red Desert, gut-stomping rock and roll band from the smoldering embers and crumbling ruins of the once great American city of Minneapolis, Minnesota. The name of the band is Red Desert. The name of the track is Older, No Wiser. Every week I get a little bit older. Every week you guys get to decide if I've gotten any wiser. This week, it's going to be open forum, guys. I'm going to be taking a look at some things. There's no real formula for this. There's not a whole lot of bullet points, man. I just want to go over the importance of what we just watched, man. What we just watched, what we just witnessed with our own eyes happen that nobody thought could happen. Everybody had written it off. People on our side, the Neil Rosses of the world, don't vote, man. They're just going to steal it again, bro. I'd have some unkind words, man, but I'm trying to carry myself on a little bit higher moral plane right now, and I may be failing at that. Let's see who's here, man. Brother Joel Allen Jackson on board early. OG, Reverend Ranger, and Prophet of Doom, Mr. Dennis Weimer. We go way back, man, and we have been through a number of elections together at this point, haven't we? We had a little gap in between, but we've been there. Here we go, man. Brother, the Mighty Mighty Stone. Good to see you, brother. And I did get your message, and we're going to be going over some of that. That's one of the things that's going to get folded in. Brother Jake, right on. PC, who showed up? Who found that Mad Owl guy? Yeah, that Mad Owl fella. Who is that? Who is that hiding behind PC on YouTube? I'm not worried about it, man. I'm glad to have you on board. I'm certainly not going to get upset by that. It just, you got to admit, come on, it's that Mad Owl fella. Kind of like that Stelter chick, or that Cooper hoe. However you want to put it, man. A little bit of gender crossover, and if they truly feel the way their rhetoric says they do, they shouldn't be bothered by that in the least. Mad Owl, for somebody that hates men so much, I've never seen somebody try more closely to resemble one. Anyway, sound off, man. PC person, whoever your handle is, man. Let's get a feel for who you are, or maintain your anonymity, man. I'm just glad to have you on board, Brother Jake, and of course you got Brother Clem, our favorite Frenchman. Good to make it on board. Facebook user, hey brothers and sisters, can't stay long tonight. Love you, Rev. I'm not sure why it's not telling me who you are either, man. But hey, it's cool. Everybody can maintain their anonymity. I'm not worried about it. Just drop me a little line in the inbox so I know that you were here, man. But whoever you are, I'm glad to have you here. So many don't believe the narrative, even the outside. Yes. Yeah, I forgot about Iowa. They told us we were going to lose Iowa at the last minute. Can you imagine? Brother Wolf, how you doing, man? Glad you made it out. Oh, Patty, yeah. Right on, Mama. I did not know that was you, man. You're hanging in with us on YouTube. I did not know. That's cool, man. I'm glad that you showed up. Still my favorite, Mama. You know this. Mwah. Happy to have you on board, sweetie. Thank you for being here. Facebook user, no stereotypes, please. Oh, right on. Bill Wade. Okay, cool, man. Did not know. Trying to make sure, man, because sometimes when it's in the anonymous, I don't know if we got like a first timer here, or if we're all just hanging out. What's going on? By the way, guys, it's a little bit cold down here. We finally get some cold weather up here in the Spokane, Washington area. So I am on level 2 of the BART bunker. It's 3 levels. We have ground level, then the command center level, level 2, and then the actual bunker level is level 3. It's a little chilly down here, so I got my fleece on. This was actually given to me by one of my students, Mad Mike Galatian, former 3rd Ranger Battalion, and did a couple of tours with Blackwater, and also with Dine Corps and Triple Canopy and some other private military contractors. He's one of a kind, man. Brother Mad Mike, I miss him, dude. But anyway, he gifted me with this years ago. He was a student of mine. A long while back, man, and a dear friend as well. So anyway, Mike, this was for you, brother. Funny story about this, man. Like, I'll wear this sometimes in public. I had a guy walk up to me one time, and I was wearing this, and the guy was like, "Hey, man, you work for Blackwater?" I'm like, "No, man." And he was like, "Well, yeah, but you're wearing there." And he was wearing a Metallica T-shirt, right? And I looked at him, and I was like, "Are you a drummer for Metallica?" And he's like, "No." And I'm like, "Right, but you're probably a big fan of their work, right?" "Right." Exactly. Anyway, man, we're going to fade out with the bumper music. Like I said, today's just going to be kind of open and free form. We're not going to be sticking to a lot of hard and fast rules. Go ahead and wind down that bumper music. As I said, man, Older No Wiser from the band Red Desert. Those guys have been really, really cool, man, from early on in the history of Sunday sermon, just kind of threw that song on one day, and I just threw it on, and it just sort of became the unofficial bumper music. And so we made it the official bumper music. And then I started hitting the guys up, just because I was a fan and I didn't want to like run afoul of any copyright violations or anything like that and get booted off other platforms. So I hit the guys up and I was like, hey, here's the deal. You guys are kind of my bumper music and I've been using it without permission. I get kind of political. If it's a bad thing, and you're not comfortable with it, just let me know. I'll knock it off. I'll find something else. And they were like, nah, man, cool, run with it. So if you get a chance, maybe download some of their music, buy some of their merch. Red Desert, they're really, you got to admit that opening track is a jam, dude. And they've been really cool as far as like letting me use their music. So throw them a couple of bucks. Take care of the people that take care of the program. Take care of the people that make it possible for me to do this, man. Because I'm a full schedule guy, man. Generally I'm working a full-time job. I'm not right now, but I'm in school full-time for the CDL, which is going well. We'll get into all that stuff. But take care of the people that take care of the program. And that includes my boys, Casey and Dusty Tellison, if you're up here in the Spokane area, from Nordic Smoke Barbecue, the only legit barbecue in the Inland Northwest. Period. End of statement. Done. Yeah, but what about sit down, shut up, you're wrong. They are it. Period. When I got up here to Washington State, it bothered me because Washington State's idea of barbecue was like meat with some sauce on it. They didn't understand the whole smoking process up here. And any of the places that did were like chains that were headquartered in Texas or somewhere else, like some of the chain barbecue places. These guys, I met them through a total quirk of fate. Happened to be working as a DJ at a club where one of the two brothers was working as security, and met them, and they've been smoking my holiday turkey every year since 2014. This will be the 10th year they'll be doing the holiday turkey here at the Bart Bunker. Casey and Dusty Tellison, Nordic Smoke Barbecue. Check them out. The Viking Longship smoker trailer is sailing the asphalt seas and setting up and doing catering gigs here in the Spokane area. Check them out, and check out Casey's book. For sure, check out Casey's book, Freaks of a Feather. It is a combat memoir that started out as a suicide note. And if that by itself doesn't get your attention, I promise the first chapter will. The man's a phenomenally gifted writer. So take care of the people that are taking care of the program and making this possible. Also, of course, where would we be without Roman and Carrie and Roxy and Allie and the bevy of beautiful women over at opiumtales.com? They are the erotic pinups and portraits people, beautiful watercolor work, and testosterone-driven commentary. Definitely worth checking out. And Roman is one of my oldest and dearest friends. He's got 2 books available on Amazon right now. From Dork to Pimp Daddy is Roman Riva. Roman Riva is the name that you're going to find him under on Amazon. That was his journey from being Joe Tech schlub to being paid for the privilege of painting beautiful naked women. Roman really is also on under Roman Riva, and that is a collection of his artwork. So check out the books. Throw money at people who are throwing money at me and making it possible for me to come on and do this thing. So I'm told that something happened on Tuesday. Yeah, I've been waiting around for that for a minute or two. I'm going to throw out just verbatim a post that I made earlier this week, and I've really tried to take the moral high ground with that, even though I know that courtesy is not going to be returned. And I'm also going to read some stuff from Brother Sonny Puzikas that I think got read the wrong way, and a whole lot of things got read the wrong way. We are so without a sense of nuance. If there is one, and I started to call it a weakness about our political side or our ideology, is that we are completely without a sense of nuance. And some people are not necessarily, I wouldn't generally consider that a weakness, because most things, particularly the important things, do come down to a matter of black and white. They really do. It's tough to establish those gray areas and stay in line with your principles. And sometimes, as I said earlier in the election cycle, you have to make a principled decision to abandon your principles as a matter of principle. Seems contradictory, but it's really, really not. Sticking to certain principles for the sake of, when it is legitimately shooting yourself in the foot, is unproductive, right? We will advocate for freedom of speech even for people who are deliberately trying to censor us, and we will do that at our own expense. That can only go so far before it becomes self-destructive. We will advocate for freedom of religion for people who, as part of their religion, their stated purpose is to destroy the entire civilization that we've created. You can only go so far with that before you have to take you have to make a principled decision to step away from those principles for the sake of self-preservation. The trick is to dip away just long enough to take those steps that ensure your self-preservation without completely stepping away from it and becoming what you despise. See also Nietzsche's thing about be careful when fighting monsters, that one does not become a monster, because when you stare into the abyss also stares into you. Very true. Very true. The American people, the American electorate on Tuesday, in no small way, basically said to these principalities, these forces of darkness in high places, and I am speaking from a position of being a man of faith and an advocate, devotee, and practitioner of the Christian faith, to the best of my abilities. Our fight is not with flesh and blood. Now, our fight between now and January may come down to a matter of flesh and blood. I do not think for one second that these people are going to roll over and play dead and be quiet. They're playing very, very nice right now, which, I don't mind telling you, unnerves the hell out of me. But the forces of darkness, the principalities and forces of darkness in high places, people said enough. People said enough is enough. All of the shortcomings, all of the things that I've said would ultimately come back and bite the left in the ass, came back in spades and left some deep, deep tooth marks in those glutes. I'm thankful that all of the efforts to demoralize us failed. I am thankful that people took it upon themselves, not at my behest. Hopefully I moved a couple of people, but I'm nobody, man. I'm a crane operator with some opinions. I'm thankful that enough people saw it for what it was. It was our last opportunity. If we did not shut them down and repudiate them now, we would not be given another chance. And I think enough people saw that. For all of their rhetoric, they're working on the Saul Alinsky playbook. Always accuse the other side of what you're doing themselves. We're trying to, they're going to kill democracy. They're going to kill democracy, says the party that legit stabbed their democratically chosen candidate in the back and removed him before the primary. Right? Or removed him before the convention. All the primaries had gone Joe Biden's way. Literally nobody ran against him. They snatched it right out from under him, and they set him up to fail. That wound up biting them in the ass. The whole thought of intersectionality and the way that the left historically has tripped over their own bullshit bit them in the ass. And now they're even acknowledging it. Right. They did the same thing with Bernie twice. Right. Again. So you can't expect, if you're trying to go from a populist state of mind, you can't alienate the biggest part of your electorate like that. One of the things that I noticed in 2016, and Dennis, you and I have had this conversation, is that the Democratic electorate wanted Bernie, and they were like, oh, that's so cute. You want Bernie, but here's Hillary. It's her turn. Yeah, but we don't want Hillary. We want Bernie. Yeah, I know you want Bernie, but it's Hillary's turn. right? On the other end, in 2016, they were like, "Here's Cruz. Well, we don't want Cruz. We want Trump." Okay, well, here's another fella. No, well, we don't want that guy. We want Trump. Well, here's a Bush. No, we don't want another Bush. We want Trump. Finally, the Republicans, when it got to convention time, said, "Okay, he's he's an inarticulate clown shoe buffoon, but he's the inarticulate clown shoe buffoon that you guys picked. So here you go. We're gonna run him, and we're gonna lose horribly." Didn't work out that way. The Democrats uh, were like, "Oh, you want Bernie? Yeah, but it's Hillary's turn, so here's Hillary," and they didn't turn out. They didn't turn out. Thank the Lord, Tampon Tim and Hurricane Kamala lost. Yeah, Mr. Christian, Mr. Christian, Mr. Christian. Give me a hint. Give me a hint. Give me a hint of who the person is behind that handle, because I don't think we've been properly introduced. But yes, you're correct. Thank the Lord that Tampon Tim and Hurricane Kamala lost. Point blank, you had people who had been sold, and this is the thing, even their own electorate had to take a look at the evidence with their own eyes and ears, right? When you spend the better part of 4 years hiding the fact and running interference for the fact that your president is an addled cadaver, when you do everything to hide his faux pas, and again, when all of your information is coming from that Maddow fella and the crew over at MSNBC, and that's all they do is run cover for it, even going so far as to insist 3 years plus in that it was all fakes, it was all cheap fakes, and we were selectively editing the thing, and then you put Biden out there for the debates, and the whole world gets to see it, and then you expect people to switch and to turn on a dime. There are enough Democrats that did. There are enough hardcore leftists that did. It was like, no, Biden's great. Biden's sharp as a tack. He's amazing. He's going to be our candidate. He's going to win the presidency. And then the debate came, and immediately the propaganda ministry shifted. Okay, Biden's out. He's totally scrambled brains. We can't run him. He can't win. Here's Kamala, who we were just telling you is a bonehead and an idiot and was polling lower than this addled cadaver, but she's the greatest thing since sliced bread now. She is the mulatto messiah 2.0. She can't be beaten. She's a sure bet. We don't even need to have an open convention. We don't even need to run a small primary process again. She is the anointed one, Dominus Oblis, and she will go forward and carry the light of the... No. Even the Democrats didn't buy it. And the intersectionality thing, they're consistently tripping over their own BS. The narrative with intersectionality is that there are white, cis, Christian males and then everyone else, right? Is that you have the evil, oppressive, white, cisgender Christian males, and everybody else is on that spectrum of oppression, and that's a big happy rainbow coalition, and it's us against them. And they don't take into account the fact that there is epidemic homophobia in the Black community. There is epidemic homophobia and misogyny inside the Latino community by their own definition, okay? And I'm not slagging on blacks or Latinos with that. I'm just saying you look at the numbers and it's there. Blacks and Hispanics are socially conservative and always have been. So when your progressive ideology is going to depend on them, and the thing that you're putting the push on is for abortion and for trans rights and for LGBTQ rights, guess what? It's not going to fly. You guys remember Prop 8 in California? This is a while back. You guys can do the Google homework on this. Prop 8 in California, they really, really tried to drive to get out the vote for Barack Obama. And so they really put the push on in Black and Hispanic communities to get out the vote for Obama. And they voted for Obama in droves, and Obama carried the state easily. And then came Prop 8. Prop 8 was the gay marriage bill. And all of these Black and Hispanic voters Look at the numbers, man, and fact check me on all of this. The black and Hispanic voters, almost without exception, or by really, really large margins, voted against gay marriage. This is the same crowd that you were counting on to carry your black presidential candidate. But they didn't take into account that these people are actually people, right? You guys are numbers. You guys are large swaths. You guys are groups that we take for granted. For the longest time, it was the black community as the token minority, and then once they got the Hispanic numbers up enough, they didn't even have to attempt to placate the black community anymore, right? This is how they have done business, and it's finally come to a head where they keep getting access to these offices, and all of the cultural touchstones are all behind them, whether it is academia, whether it is media, whether it is the entertainment industry. No matter what it is, all of those social and cultural forces are behind them, and the people sit there quietly like, why is this keeps getting crazier? And now finally they've had enough. They've had enough. What is that? If you thumb your nose at religion, you're not going to oppress Hispanic Catholics and Black Baptists. Thank you. And at least try to pretend to care about them. And it's interesting you mentioned that, Dennis, with regard to Prop 8, which we were just discussing, because it was blacks and Latinos, it was blacks and Hispanics that overwhelmingly were responsible for the failure of Prop 8 in California. And what did the LGBT community do? Did they try to reach out to the blacks and Hispanics? No, they had violent demonstrations outside of Catholic churches because bad Christian, because bad Jesus, because it's just a lack of self-awareness. It's a lack of self-awareness. And I'm going to say something here. Actually, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read I'm going to read this piece from Sonny Puzikis. Let me see if I can find this. Here we go. And this is an approach that I took as well, and I'm gonna read this verbatim, so just be patient with me for a minute. As tempting as it is, I'll refrain from posting absolutely lit memes that will be saturating social media in weeks and months to come. As tempting as it is to mock the other side, I'll refrain. And I'm aware that most from the other side wouldn't necessarily offer the same if the outcome was different. You know they wouldn't. You absolutely know they wouldn't. That alone does not in any way justify us who supported the winning side being nasty to them. I want to ask my friends to consider this. Millions of people were misled, lied to, intentionally confused, right? And this is my interjection here. And a lot of that was self-inflicted, and they need to be held to account for that. Sonny continues. Misled, lied to, intentionally confused. And it was done from both sides of the political spectrum. Be polite, be understanding, be patient. Talk to them, even if it takes you making the first move. I know most won't see things the way that you do, no matter what you say, what you do. But just maybe, if you can make one person see through the lies that clouded their mind, just one, so be it. Offer your hand, your time, your patience, and love thy neighbor even though he may not love you. Quick disclaimer, different rules apply if they try to mostly peacefully burn, destroy, and wreck. Be good at distributing violence, but only when there's no other choice. That was the words of Brother Sonny Puzikis. I think there's a lot to be said for that. And a whole lot of people reacted in a very visceral, very knee-jerk way to that admonition. Screw these people, man. They spent the last 8 years calling us fascists and saying that we ought to be locked up and have our kids taken away. And yes, 100% they did. 100% they did. If given the opportunity, they will do so again. Don't have any illusions about who these people are, right? Even the mainstream leftists that came over and swung over to our side a little bit when things really got twisted for the hard left if given the opportunity and fed the same propaganda, we would be looking again at the exact same thing that we got to witness between 2020 and 2023, late into 2023. The push, the social contagion, the fear. If you disagree with any of the things going forward that the regime has put in front of you, then you are an enemy of the state and you must be gulagged. And if gulag doesn't work, then we're going to have to kill you. That's who a lot of those people are at their core. All right. So you can't take violence off the table. But we have a unique distinction right now for at least the next 2 years that we are in control politically. They are still well in control socially and culturally. The deep state still holds 100% grasp over the media. Okay, they still hold almost exclusive grasp over academia. If your kids are in college, your kids are lost. Okay, there's no matter how. I mean, maybe you did a good enough job to keep them out of the system for a little while longer, but they are being not subtly indoctrinated into that leftist mindset, which leftist now represent. It's the oddest thing, the way everything is shifted. Republicans used to be the party of big business, the party of corporations, the party of war, and a lot of neocon Republicans and rhinos are still those guys. They never met a war that they didn't like. They never met a defense contractor that they weren't willing to put on the payroll. They never met a no-bid contractor that they weren't ready to hand out to a political pal. This is one of the reasons why there is such visceral hatred. I got to admit, and I'm going to run through this again, and I've said it before, but I have to own it. With regard to Donald Trump in 2016, I did not support the man, and I did not vote for him. I knew that I hated Hillary with the burning fire of 1,000 suns, but I believed a lot of what I was being told about Donald Trump, and my support for him did not come easily. It was a slow chiseling away, and mostly the left has themselves to thank for it, because the accusations just kept getting more and more outlandish and bizarre and were backed by nothing. And initially, I resented them for putting me in a position of having to defend this jerk. Like, why am I, like, I don't even like this guy, and you are forcing me to defend him because what you're saying about him is so patently absurd and abjectly false that I am compelled to speak the truth in the face of this. I'm not just going to let you get away. It's like there were enough things to not like him for legitimately, and you guys are just going to make stuff up? Like, no, that's not okay. And then slowly but surely, I watched the way that his policies came together, and I watched the way that he interacted, and I watched the end of wars, and I watched no new wars getting started, and I watched the border be brought under control, and I watched the economy boom, and I watched all these things happen. I can actually, I'll remind you, there was, I can, Charlie will tell you. I remember at one point I hit her with, "Hey man, are you going to leave me if I become a Trump supporter?" Because I wasn't anywhere close to a Trump supporter. I was absolutely neutral. He's slowly but surely kind of winning me over, and I'm like, dude, I'm really starting to appreciate how this guy does his thing. And that coasted on for several months. And I remember the first time that I stepped to Charlie and was like, "Hey man, would you like bail on me if I came out as a Trump supporter?" It's been the subject of some stimulating conversations. We'll leave it at that. Here's where we are now, though, nationally. overwhelming majorities of many, many demographics that we did not expect. Right. Thank you, Joel. Right. Right. And on a lot of ways, you still don't like him. A president doesn't need to be likable. He just needs to do the effing job. And I get that as well. I've actually started kind of taking a liking to the guy. He's very affable, right? The way that he handled getting, shot in the head was kind of cool. That's a fairly likable quality, that you're going to stand up after taking after taking a rifle round literally centimeters, millimeters from being a fatal headshot, and you're going to stand up and put your life at risk again. You don't know, there could have been multiple shooters. You don't know, there could have been other threats in the crowd. The shooter that took the first shot might still be up. You don't know, because you just had to duck and cover, and you got buried by 7 Secret Service agents. And your first instinct is to stand up and put your fist in the air and say, fight, 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 because you don't want your supporters thinking you're dead. That's a pretty likable thing. Anybody who has bad things to say about it, dude, even Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks, even Cenk Uygur was like, and Cenk is a jerk of the highest order. But Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks was like, okay, whatever else you have to say about Trump, that was pretty badass. Elon Musk endorsed Donald Trump within minutes, rather, of that incident. Within minutes of that incident, he endorsed Donald Trump, where he had kind of been hanging back for a minute. We have the opportunity to do great things right now. We really have the opportunity to do great things right now. But speaking with regard to what Sonny wrote, and also with regard to what I've said and what Dennis has said, let me bounce back over here, and I'm gonna catch that. Opening the door to disenfranchised Democratic voters who are starting to realize that they were sold a crock and might be willing to ask themselves the hard questions at some point. And that is the thing. A lot of it is going to be leaving ourselves open for them to approach us, and not doing the ha ha, yeah, told you so, jerkwad. Because some of these people, man, are rattled, and they're searching, and they're coming to grips with the fact that, Justice for Peanut, I love it. Right. And you're right, Tommy, and welcome aboard. First of all, Tommy, he hasn't thrown any crap at the other side since the victory. Pumpkin, pecan, coffee, and okay, no pumpkin. Jake, I'm drawing a hard veto on the pumpkin thing, but pumpkin, pecan, coffee, and the Bart Stewart Show going down in Houston. All right, brother. I do appreciate that. You're gonna have a lot of people that are, and a lot of people did come around and have been coming around. There's only so far that the left can push before any sensible person, anyone with two brain cells to rub together, anybody with anything approximating a moral compass has to go enough, right? And it's not a matter about being rooted in the faith, and it's not a matter of being, of anything really. It doesn't have to be about any of those things. It's just, my God, the other side is insane. And people are seeing that in spite of the information control. How far outside the mainstream do you have to be where, in spite of all the propaganda, that normal liberals, I mean like traditional liberals, are looking at this and going, bro, are you kidding me? Right? Ponder that. You guys want for illegal immigrants who are violent felons incarcerated in American prisons to be able to have their sex gender transition surgery paid for. That sounds like something so extreme that only a hardcore Trump supporter would just make that up out of the clear blue sky to say something ridiculous to make Kamala people look bad. But no, that's legitimately a thing. What? Leaving aside the lesser extreme things, like slicing the cock off of healthy 13-year-old boys because they think they're girls, slicing the breasts off of healthy 13-year-old girls because they think they're boys. And in at least 6 states, that's been codified into law that if parents don't affirm their minor child's gender, that the state by way of CPS can pull that child out of the household. The taxpayers will pay for the surgery and the parents don't even have to be consulted. That is the law. That's not some fever dream or dystopian nightmare. That is the law right here in the state of Washington where I live. That is the law. It is codified into law here in the state of Washington that if if your son Bobby decides that he's your daughter Brenda, and you say, no, Bobby, we're going to take you and we're going to get you some psychiatric help. We're going to take you to a therapist. If you do anything but say, okay, you're Brenda now, and proceed to affirm his gender, CPS can take your child, transition them at taxpayer expense, and you don't even have to be consulted. That is the law in the state of Washington. Okay? So it's not like we're making things up. It's not like we're having to make up these extreme things. If you would have said even 5 years ago that this would be codified into law, any normal human being, even a left of center human being, would have looked and went, dude, get the hell out of here. That's ridiculous, man. They've gone that far and then some. What did Orwell say? What was it that Orwell said? Hey, Roger, I'm glad you're here, brother. I'm glad. Mike didn't vote until, right? Mike didn't vote until he and I got together. Yeah, a lot of people like that. If Trump can make good around this next 4 years, we may be fortunate to have 8 years advanced, and we might possibly have pulled the country back from the brink of no return. I can only pray. And brother, I'm with you on that. I'm absolutely with you on that, and we're gonna bring that home. I just want to get through the way that we need to handle these people. Ordinary folk who are Democrats have looked at what the Democratic Party has become. The Democratic Party has been hijacked by extreme leftists, and let's just call them what they are. They're communists. Okay? There's no other. These are the most radical individuals that you can imagine, the AOCs of the world, right? I mean, even Maxine Waters pales in comparison. Even, Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren pales in comparison to this. There's liberal, there's hard liberal, there's leftist, and then there's what's taken over the Democratic Party now. This push for the extremes. And there's no legitimate reason to keep pushing for it unless your goal is to undermine and destroy not just the United States, but Western civilization. Particularly now, when you see leftists and media whores doubling down on this. They just got handed their ass. The American electorate just looked at them and went, you guys are batch, and we want nothing to do with this. We are going to give it to the orange guy that you guys have spent 8 years trying to convince us is a fascist that's going to destroy democracy. We're looking at you and seeing what you're doing, and we're going with the orange fella. And instead, and this is something, and I've talked with a number of people about this. Since 2016, I've talked to people about this. What the Democratic Party needed to do, but again, I was going on a faulty premise. In the same sense that a lot of you guys think that Sonny and I both are going on a faulty premise here in assuming the best out of the rank and file and not taking the easy jab and not taking the easy joke and not piling on to the left wing. But I'm gonna bring this all home in a second. Since 2016, I was going on the premise that the Democratic Party actually were just misguided souls. The people really at the heart of the Democratic Party were just misguided souls, and that what the leadership needed to do after having everything, after having their ass handed to them in 2016, was what they needed to do was take a step back and go, wow, okay, we thought we had it, and clearly we were wrong, and we need to retool this. We need to take a step back. We need to find a message that reaches people, and we need to get on that message and retool everything. Just sit it out for a couple of years, come back in the midterms, try to take one or both houses of Congress in the midterms, and then come back in 2020 and carry our message to the American people and let the American people decide. They didn't do that. They did the opposite of that. They doubled down on insanity. They pushed even more radical gender stuff. They pushed even more radical censorship stuff. They worked directly with social media platforms to censor and suppress political enemies. They and since 2020 and that election, which, look, man, I'm gonna say this, and I don't care how anybody feels about it. Stolen is something that's difficult to make a case for because words mean things. But if you deny that that election was rigged, you haven't even a tangential tether to any sort of mainstream reality construct. 81 million votes. There's a meme circulating right now, and you can fact check the numbers on that meme, but you look at the numbers of votes and it's like 59 million for Clinton, 59 million for Obama, 59 million for, and then 81 million for a dude that didn't leave his garage. And now we're back to 59, 60 million for Kamala. That wasn't an anomaly. And considering that Trump's numbers stayed the same between 2020 and 2024, it's not like fewer people hated Trump. Or maybe it is. Maybe fewer people hated Trump, in which case the Dems still have to concede. None of this adds up. They doubled down. They lost. Normal people have had enough. So what we need to do collectively going forward is we have nothing to do with the political process, okay? We voted, we installed the people. That is how a republic works. We have appointed our representatives. We put the pressure on them. We make phone calls. We petition. We light them up on social media. We keep the pressure on to do the things that are necessary to restoring America to a sense of balance. All of these things, you know it and I know it, all of these things that are products of the imagination of the Democrats are just that. And we've got to be able to talk these people down from the brink. You legitimately have people out there right now that think that the same people that aren't bothered by the fact that legitimate Handmaid's Tale scenarios exist in Arab countries that they love so much and encourage us to tolerate, who put their women in hijabs and completely forbid abortions and have honor killings and beatings and stonings for adultery and that kind of thing. They love those people, and yet they projected this phantom of a Handmaid's Tale fantasy. And look, I'm going to say something that a lot of people are not going to like. I think a lot of these women who are projecting that really hard, I think have some very serious pathology going on. You guys know exactly where I'm going with this. If you are really that intent with nothing to indicate that it's actually headed that direction, and you can't manage to get it off your mind, the thought of being forced to forced to lie down and have your wrist restrained while a man of high status forces his seed into you. These are the same women that bought 50 Shades of Grey, right? And yet lament rape culture. You got some twisted units out there, and they are going on just baseless nonsense. They're afraid, and some of them are actually aroused. It's weird. Regardless, you're dealing with, yeah, thank you, Pat. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Jake. That's deeply uncomfortable after talking about rape fantasies, but yeah, thanks, buddy. Uh, it's part of my charm, actually. It's, just stare into him with that Svengali like Rasputin esque then. But yeah, no, I mean, Jake, Patty's right. These women are entertaining rape fantasies, right? While lamenting correctly rape culture. It's really bizarre, man. But you're dealing with people who mentally are not stable, mentally are not right, and you have to adjust your messaging accordingly. It's sad, but that's the fact of the matter right here. These people are going to be reaching out. They realize that they got sold a bill of goods. They realize that something's not adding up. It's going to be even more going forward when after the first year, oh wow, they're not putting gays in boxcars. Oh wow, they didn't sign a national ban on abortion. Oh wow, they haven't used the military against their enemy. Again, Saul Alinsky playbook. They are projecting all of the things that they have been doing as a matter of policy under the Biden administration. They are accusing us. That's normal, given the demographic. That's more or less normal. This is, always going by the Alinsky playbook. Always project on your enemies what you yourself are doing. It's and remember who Saul Alinsky dedicated that book to, right? I'll wait for you to Google that. Alienating them is not going to help. Doubling down is not going to help. We are in a position of control. Rather than take it to them and living up to their irrational fantasies about how we're going to be out to crush them, what I believe our focus needs to be is on just getting it done, right? We hold the Oval Office and both houses of Congress. That will be our position of power for the next 2 years. And for those 2 years, every single thing that we have talked about pushing needs to be pushed. I am talking about the border wall. I am talking about mass deportations, which, by the way, again, if you were listening to anyone but that Maddow fella, you would know that even 53% of Latinos in this country, 53% of Hispanics in this country, in survey after survey, have said that they support mass deportations. We need to carry it forward. We need to show them reasons don't matter, results do. You guys tracking with me on that? Reasons don't matter, results do. And just like we have seen the inevitable and predictable results of leftism, and this is another part of why we won so hard on Tuesday. No matter how often the regime lies, no matter how often the fact checkers decontextualize something, no matter how many times the media tells you everything's going great, sooner or later, you look at what's right in front of your face and you realize that's not going to work. People will tell you the joys of what we have coming if we just adopt these socialist and communist principles, and we just make the rich pay for these deadbeats, and we just, steer tax revenue towards this program and that program, and that we get to see with our own two eyes how it looks in the entire state of California, particularly in the big cities. We don't have to wait around to say, well, what would happen if we attempted this policy? We are getting to see the results play out in real time. What they're doing doesn't work. Walk through Portland, walk through Seattle. Look at the end result of these policies. We're getting to see it play out in real time. And it only gets worse from here unless we course correct. Eventually, people have to acknowledge that, unless they are just pure ideological zealots. And there are more than enough of them. I'm not going to be the one to self-righteously tell you to go out and engage and reach out to these people. I'm not going to tell you that. And I don't believe that Sonny was suggesting that either. Okay? I have been at the forefront of telling you, disengage, cut these people out of your life. Specificity counts. So for the sake of specificity, let me restate my position. If they come to their senses at any point, the door is open. Even as a Christian, I'm admonished to have that forgiveness in my heart for people who seriously have that, for lack of no pun intended, people that have that come to Jesus moment. And a lot of people will over the course of the coming months, over the course of the coming years. Most of these people are not bad people. But you cannot base, in the same sense that it was only a small minority of Germans who were ardent Nazis. It was only a small minority of people under Chairman Mao who participated in the struggle sessions during the Great Leap Forward. It was only a small minority of Russians during the Bolshevik Revolution that carried the authoritarianism into it, and then you have all those people in the middle who just go along to get along. We have to be the ones to say to those people, don't get carried away in this. There's a thing that I like to say with regard to preaching. Evangelize by example. Evangelize by example. You can stand on a pulpit and sing the praises of a faith or a political notion or an idea or a party. You can stand up on that soapbox and preach. Hallelujah, fire and brimstone. What's going to convince people? On a deeper level, down to their soul, what's going to convince people? You speaking hard truths that they are completely unfamiliar with, or them looking at you and the way that you live and the way that you carry yourself and saying, hey, I want what that guy has. Not on a material level. I'm not talking about on a material level. Looking at someone and saying, wow, man, you hear that guy's a Republican, you hear that guy's a Trumper, or you see that he's got a MAGA hat, and you see him out there doing community outreach. You see him out there volunteering at a food bank. You see them out there going to, not that I have any experience with this, you see them out there going to the local LDS Bishop Storehouse and helping them distribute food to needy families over the holiday season. You see them speaking without judgment. You see him taking the slings and arrows of people pointing at him and calling him a blankist or a blankophobe. And you're saying, hey, God bless you. God bless you, brother. You know, I'd love to talk to you about it. Oh, you don't, you just want to yell at me? All right. Don't do this in front of my family. God bless you, brother, and go on about his business. It's evangelizing by example. You understand? Just as much as that is for the faith, it's about the politics of the movement. And politics is downstream from what? What did Breitbart tell us? Politics is downstream from what? Come on, guys. Somebody. As Pastor Matt on Fire Ministries always said, come on, somebody. Politics is downstream from, yes, Roman, thank you, culture. We should all study apologetics. I agree, Tommy. Politics is downstream from culture. And now we have an opportunity to take back the culture. For years, they have sold to the greater cultural understanding, to the zeitgeist, for lack of a better word. They have sold that perception of what Republicans are, of what conservatives are, of what Christians are, of what MAGA people are. We have a unique opportunity right now to prove them wrong. And I'm not saying that we gotta be sanctimonious about it. Look how not racist we are in the face of racism being hurled at us. Look how nonviolent we are in the face of violence being hurled at us. That's not what I'm suggesting at all. What I'm suggesting is separating the sin from the sinner. What do you mean by that, Reverend? Well, let me tell you what I mean by that. What I'm suggesting is, yes, these people got pulled into ideologies that aren't tethered to reality. In that sense, they are broken. They are sinners. And you've never been misled? You've never been misled by a politician? You've never been misled by an ideology? Right. So we have to be willing to forgive them as sinners right up until the point that we are forced to confront their sin. Hey, man, I'd love to have you come by. I'm doing some charity work for this food bank this weekend. Hey, man, we're doing a prayer outreach to homeless people downtown this Sunday. Would you like to join me? Right? Hey, man, I can tell you're up against it. Look, man, maybe you don't share the faith, but you are welcome at any point. I'm here to talk to. If you'd like to join me at church, doors open. Leaving the faith out of the equation completely, for example. Hey, man, there are some kids who are living in poverty. We're doing a food drive. Hey, man, there are kids who won't have a Christmas without us, so we're just running around and we're gathering up things for that. That's part of evangelizing by example too, man. And what we got to count on, we have a chance. We've won the politics. Now we have a chance to win the culture. Now, a lot of that is going to depend on the people that we cast our vote for, carrying through with what they promised. You know what? We have no control over that at this point. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance at this point could turn 100% on a dime. They could flip the entire script and go, you know what, man? Forget it. Yeah, well, we took office. Oh, by the way, that Project 2025 thing, yeah, that was totally real, dude. We're just going to hand it over to the Heritage Foundation. We're going to let them run the show for the next 8 years. That's what the Dems are expecting. And you know what? Could happen. I don't see it. You don't see it. Come on, we all know better. But we have a chance right now to win the culture, to show them that to show them that being MAGA, to show them that being Christian, to show them that being conservative, to show them that being slightly right of center, to show them that ordinary deplorables, blue collar, working class people, what are those? What were the ones that? What were the ones that? That yeah, educated people vote blue. We're the uneducated population, and we're holding the country hostage. Yeah. How about we show them that the uneducated people are actually a hell of a lot sharper than they give us credit for by pushing forward on a cultural level, changing the culture from the inside out? How about as men, we step the hell up and be men? Because we don't have any reason not to anymore. Even for you spineless guys whose nuts haven't dropped yet, even for you guys that haven't found your spines and stepped up to lead by example on the manhood front, we have a chance to do that without any social backlash at this point. Besides those shrieking blue hairs whose opinions don't matter a bucket of warm piss in the first place. Step up. Lead from the front. If you're a man and you have kids, be a better father. If you're a man and you're married, be a better husband. If you're a man and you're a Christian, be a better Christian. All of this is about the preservation, not just of the United States as we know it, but of Western civilization as we know it. Because guess what, guys? All this bought us was 4 years, right? This is not the time to rest on our laurels, guys. Thank God we got this. Thank God we got this break. Thank God we got this stay of execution, more or less. Because the globalists are going to come roaring back. The globalists aren't going to back down from any of this. The war hawks the war hawks inside the administration, they're going to keep working. The deep state never sleeps, son. We got a lot that we got to get over, and none of that is in our control, is it? So we pray on that. We act on what we can change. How we live by example, how we reach out, how we communicate to people, how we carry the message going forward. We have an opportunity here, a unique opportunity to, if not save Western civilization, at least postpone its collapse long enough that hopefully better voices will come along to take up the mantle and pick up the fight. That is the opportunity that we have been handed. And all of their lies have been casted aside, people. All of them. All of them. We're racist. Oh, okay. Explain how many Latinos, how many Hispanics voted for Trump. We're anti-immigrant, man. We're anti-Mexican. Really, explain how many Hispanics voted for Trump. We're racist and we hate black people. Explain the sway in the black voter demographic and the pickup of support, if that were actually true. And I understand why people believe that it is, but there's no evidence to support that anymore. So what? Are all those blacks and Mexicans stupid and racist, as you've called us? How about the 29, almost 30% of Jewish voters, which, by the way, thanks for the support, guys. 29, 30% of Jewish voters? Are they anti-Semitic because they voted for Trump? Is Trump anti-Semitic? You know, the guy that moved our embassy to Jerusalem after all those other presidents had promised to do it. If anything, Trump, you guys don't know this because you don't have sign-ons on Stormfront like some folks. Trump catches an inordinate amount of flack for how cozy he is with the Jewish people, and you guys are calling him an anti-Semite. While, by the way, marching in the street screaming from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Trump is the anti-Semite. You understand that your talking points are failing. You understand that the lies that you've sold us are failing. And you got handed your ass. And as I said in a post earlier in the week, as an MMA fan, there is nothing more pathetic than watching a fight that is completely one-sided. A guy gets his ass completely handed to him. You see every mistake with your own eyes. You see every sloppy shot. You see every missed strike. You see every time he eats shots to the face because his hands are down. You watch this whole fight. After all the hype that he came in with, that this guy was unbeatable, and you watch him take this one-sided ass whipping. But the fight doesn't finish, and it goes to the scorecards. And when the scorecards get read, you already know it's a UD. You know it's a UD for the other guy. And there's nothing more pathetic than watching that guy that came in with the hype get the scorecards read, knowing he got his ass kicked fair and square, obviously one-sided, and say that the judges are stupid and blame everybody but himself and his camp for the loss. That's what's going on with the Democratic Party right now. They came in with all the hype in the world, including the full power of the regime propaganda ministry, all of that. They came in with that behind them. They squandered it 110%. They had a weak message, terrible policies, nothing to stand on besides, we're not that other guy and that other guy's bad. They lost. The judges looked at the fight and said, wow, that was sloppy. That was sloppy and stupid, and all of us are dumber for having watched it. And the judges gave a unanimous decision. Granted, it might have been 29-28, but it was still unanimous, right? 29-28, UD to the red corner. A smart fighter would look at that with humility. That's the Democratic voter right now. The Democratic voters, by and large, are the smart fighters. The bulk of them. Hear me out. The bulk of Democratic voters right now are the smart fighters. They're taking a step back and they're like, wow, we really, really thought we had it. But clearly we didn't. Clearly our game plan was off. Clearly we didn't train hard enough. Clearly our ground game was off. Clearly I should have spent more time on conditioning. What we need to do is go back, and the next training camp, we retool everything. We figure out where we went wrong here. And we show up for the next fight. We show up ready to win it, or at least be competitive. That's the majority of Democratic voters right now. I'm going to say that without reservation. You can disagree with me all you want, and that's fine. I've been wrong before, and all 3 times I felt horrible about it. The majority of Democratic voters, right, thank you, right, explain, and there's a sentence we never thought we'd hear. You're absolutely right, Dennis. Explain how the guy who rounded up and registered all the Amish was a gay Republican. You know, because we're so istophobes. We hate the gays. Scott Presler, this isn't a very Christian thing to say, but I would absolutely give a big sloppy kiss to Scott Presler right now. I really would, for what he did for the Republican Party. Thank you, Scott. And thank you for being the example that another lie of theirs is exactly that. I'm getting off on a tangent here. Here's the point. The majority of Kamala voters are the smart fighter who takes that one-sided ass whipping and goes, wow, I got no excuses. Bad training camp, bad methodology. We need to take it back to the drawing board, figure out where we went wrong, put together another game plan, and show up ready to win for the next one. The Democratic leadership fall into one of 2 camps. One is the deep state. The deep state is committed to the destruction of America and the destruction of the West. There is no pulling them back from the brink. And the ones who are approximating them, the ones who are adjacent to them, the ones who are closest to them, the hardcore Democratic leadership, they are the ones seeing that the judges were stupid and blaming everybody else for their loss. I want you guys to look up something for me. Jonathan Pie. You guys familiar with Jonathan Pie? He's the British guy. He's a political commentator. The dude is left of center, but he's solid. And he's a solid thinker. And I like the dude a lot. He's very funny. I want you to look back at Jonathan Pie, what he said in 2016 after Trump won, about how the Dems were blaming everybody but themselves. Yes, I did just say that, Mike. Yes, I just said that, Stone. Look back at what he said in 2016, because the Hillary camp was blaming everybody but themselves. It's racism, it's sexism, it's homophobia. They don't want a woman leading the country. They don't want this, they don't want that. They're all racist and sexist and istis and istophobes and blaming everyone. In the past several days, I've heard them blame Joe Biden. Yeah. Joe Biden, something I never thought I'd say, but between the debate and the way that he's been treated by the Democratic Party, something I never thought I'd say. I despise the man for any of a number of good reasons. For being a party apparatchik, for being a pedo, for showering with his 11-year-old daughter, you little freak, for his corruption in Ukraine and the number of people who have been killed behind it, for his, there's 100 good reasons to hate Joe Biden, but I actually had to feel genuine sympathy for him. Outside of all the horrible things he's done, it would be easy for me to go, yeah, well, you deserved it. That's just your comeuppance. And maybe it is. That's between him and the boss man. That's between him and the carpenter. That's above my pay grade. I legitimately felt bad for the guy. What they did to him, putting him out there on the debate stage, knowing he was going to get hammered, so they would have the excuse to pull him out of the race, stabbing him in the back for the sake of a woman, right? After Obama's second term, Biden should have been the guy to get nominated, but it was Hillary's turn, remember? So Obama pulled out all the support, and he did it again. Stabbed Joe in the back again and stuck Kamala up there. And what the party has done to him, blaming him for Kamala's loss, for not pulling out of the race early enough. That ain't right. I still don't like the man. I still condemn all of those actions that I had issue with. But the Dems blaming him for that is absurd. Yeah, even blame Taylor Swift. Yeah, Kathy Griffin, the one that held up the severed Trump head? The weird... Dude, Kathy Griffin, what do I need to say past Kathy Griffin? Bizarroville. She blamed Taylor Swift. I really wish that Taylor Swift would have come out and done an event. Right, because, all those other celebrities doing events for Kamala carried the day. What the hell are you talking about? This is how out of touch people are. They are the fighter who says that that's all they got. The judges, yeah, they blame Clooney. They blamed Clooney. They blamed everybody but Obama, right? I haven't heard anyone. If anybody heard that somebody put the blame on Obama, I'm going to give you a tale of two comedians here. Christopher Titus. Chris, I love you. I love you. But you're completely untethered right now, bro. You really are. That post that you made earlier in the week calling Nancy Pelosi a mutinous pirate. Nancy Pelosi and others mutinous pirates for what they did to your boy Biden. Dude, I agree with you. What they did to Biden was unconscionable. I even messaged you directly expressing sympathy and support because your boy Biden had gotten shafted. But you jumped on the Kamala train, so you're just as much to blame, brother. And I'm going to tell you something. For all your love for your boy B-Rock, if Pelosi is a mutinous pirate, Barack Obama is Jack freaking Sparrow, bro. He put the screws to your boy Biden. And no one will jump and blame him for any of this. He orchestrated the entire damn thing, and no one will put the blame on him. They're blaming everybody else, though. Taylor Swift, George Clooney, racism, sexism, any of that. How about our policies suck? We're completely out of touch with the American electorate, and we need to retool everything. Had it occurred to any of you? Now, on the other side of that Tale of Two Comics, I'm going to put Andrew Rivers. You guys know Andrew. You guys have seen it. He's the guy that made me internet famous, right? Bomb shelter guy, right? You guys have seen the bit. And if you haven't, look it up. Andrew Rivers, bomb shelter guy. It's a comedic expression of the first time he and I met. And yeah, he takes some comedic license with it, but it's very funny. He's a good kid. One thing I will say for Andrew Rivers is he can admit when he's wrong. Another thing I will say for Andrew Rivers is he will actually seek the truth. He will actually reflect, as he did after the Russian collusion thing, right? Yeah, right? Dude, he's great. He's fantastic. And he's a good guy, too. Tommy, if you ever get a chance to see him live, if he comes through wherever you're at, go see him live and let him know, man, hey, man, I'm a friend of Bomb Shelter Guy. After the Russian collusion thing, because he bought it hook, line, and sinker. And then the Mueller report came out and he looked and he was like, wow, I can't believe. I was like, yeah, dude, you totally got sold a bill of goods. And he copped to it. He was like, I really believed it. And I clearly was wrong. He's had a lot of those moments. But here's the thing. He's got the courage. He's got the courage to step out of his echo chamber, first of all. And he's got the benefit of a conservative friend who he trusts. Some bald, toothless, knucklehead crane operator guy. He's got the benefit of a conservative friend who he knows is not going to BS him, and who knows if I'm speaking it, it's not coming from the position of a zealot. It's a position that he hadn't been exposed to yet. And Andrew and I have some really, really good conversations. Doesn't want to be canceled just yet. Man, he's never in a position to be canceled, dude. He did that special unit film. You haven't seen that, Tommy? You ever seen that? He did that. He did a film, Special Unit, where it was a whole bunch of special needs cops, right? And it was, dude, it was funny as hell. It was absolutely funny as hell film where Titus plays a police captain and he's put in charge. You know, he does something and he gets in trouble and they put him in charge of this unit. And he's got to handle all these special needs people. He's got one guy who's like Down syndrome. He's got another guy who's like confined to a wheelchair. And it's all. I mean, dude, it was great. It was hilarious. If he was going to get canceled, he'd be canceled over something like that. I love Titus. I still love the man. I do. He's just completely untethered right now. The difference is, I would imagine if you approached him today, Nick DiPaolo, yeah, I like Andrew Schultz right now. I think Andrew Schultz is probably the ballsiest comic to come down the pike in a long time. I like him a lot. I think if you were to ask Titus right now, he would probably say that I've completely lost my mind as well. I understand why you would feel that way. This Jesus thing, and I'm running with the wrong crowd, and the white Christian nationalists have gotten up under my skin, and I'm not, all of those things, and that's fine, man. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I figure that's probably what he'd say if you asked him. But the one thing that I always say to him is, I won't have discussions with him on certain things because I'm not going to put our friendship at hazard. There's debates and there's arguments. Debates, you're not equipped. You're not equipped to go National Forensics League flowchart, affirmative, negative. This is the resolution. Here's our definition of terms. Round number 1, cross-examination, rebuttal. Round number 2, cross-examination, rebuttal. You're not equipped to do that with me. You're not equipped to do that with me. Most master's degree political science guys are not equipped to do that with me. So there's no shortcoming in that. So I'm not going to have the debate with someone, and I'm not going to have the argument, because the argument serves to put our friendship at hazard. So what do I say, and what is the point of all of this story? I understand that's how you feel about it, and I understand why. That's the way to handle it. Establish, right, thank you, right? Establish that there's no common ground to be had here. If someone comes to you asking, respond. If someone comes to you violent, respond. If someone comes at you somewhere in betwixt and between, and you can tell that there's nothing, there's no constructive dialogue to be had, let them know. I understand that you feel that way, and I understand why. And then leave it. Leave it. The more important work to be done is leading by example. They come at you with all of that. They come at you with all of that. I understand that you feel that way, and I understand why. I'd love to have this discussion, but I've got some work that I need to do at the food bank. We're helping out some poor people downtown. I'd love for you to come along. I warn you, there's going to be some other Republicans there, but you're welcome. We really could use the help. I understand that you feel that way, and I understand why. I would love to have this conversation with you, bro, but I've got men's ministry tonight, and we are putting together something for a mission for the church, where we're going to go to a third world country. We're going to build some water wells, put in some solar stations, and we're going to preach the gospel. So let me go to men's ministry and handle that, and maybe we can have this conversation another time. Do the work, man. Do the work. Live it by example. The 20 minutes that you're going to spend screaming at somebody and ending a friendship, and it will at this point, the push is on from the other side. They are making no secret about it. They're even going as far as telling women, stop sleeping with men, divorce your husbands. These are not sane, rational people, and those people can't be reached. Don't attempt to reach them. Be on a defensive posture and completely disengage from those people. But going out of your way to make it more hostile, ha ha, we won, you didn't, what are we, 7? We won. Use the mandate that we've been given to actually get some work done. We won the office. Now we got to win back the culture. We do that by example. And by example isn't thumping your chest and going to, I mean, allegedly, I don't believe half of this stuff that I'm hearing. The guys that are walking around with t-shirts on that say, you know, your body, my choice. That how is that constructive, dude? How is that constructive? You're not helping. We have a rare opportunity. We are living in a rare and unlikely moment in the history of this country. We haven't seen a mandate like this since the Reagan-Mondale election. I'll wait for some of you youngsters to Google that. And I'll say it from a position of a person of faith. Boss man is looking at us right now like, all right, I heard you. You prayed for it. Here it is. What do you do with it? I'm going to get off into the faith for a minute here. If you don't dig it, fast forward. I don't care. Even for the so-called chosen. And I'm going to leave all the political aspects of that out of it. When were the times that the chosen were forsaken by the boss man? When they turned from him. We have turned from the boss man for a long time. Turned from the boss man for a long time. And we caught ourselves slipping away almost past the point of no return. We tiptoed right up to the precipice and looked over. We gazed into the abyss. The abyss gazed back into us. We caught our snap and we started praying because that's all we had left. They had control of all the cultural institutions. They had control of all the media. They had control of the entertainment industry. They legitimately were censoring social media platforms, working in tandem with private organizations. There's a corporate partnering with the government to achieve authoritarian ends. There's a word for that. It starts with an F. Somebody help me out. Anyway, I'm old. I forget stuff. I'm not going to belabor it, man. We're not doing the black pills here. A whole lot of people got red pilled this time. We had nothing left to do but pray, and we did. And we reached out, and the boss man cut us a break. Thank you. Time to walk into the desert. Right on. I like that. In fact, Bill, I think you summed it better than I could have. God decided to cut us some slack. It's a damn sight more than we deserved. And now people across the board. Oh, is that okay? So that's Turtle, because Bill was here earlier under. I'm sorry, guys. Like in the chart, all I'm seeing is Facebook user, and I've got like 3 different people now that are like, it's just showing me Facebook user. So I'm sorry if I misidentified anybody. But Turtle, hey, thanks. Glad you're on board. Yeah, Turtle. Time to walk into the desert. Time to walk into the desert, but we're not seeking it because it's right here around us. It's time to create that promised land. We have an opportunity to do that. We have an opportunity to reestablish the principles of Western civilization that made us the envy of the rest of the world. All of these people that are shrieking and shaving their heads and doing the TikTok videos right now and worried about the phantoms of fascism and wearing their Handmaid's Tale uniforms and all this other stuff, they don't have a kind word to say about this country, but they're still hard pressed to explain why we're so racist and sexist and oppressive and horrible and against the will of our people and everything. And in spite of all of that, everyone else in the world wants to come here. That was part of the election as well. You finally got enough people across enough demographics that went, you know what? Shut up. You never come with policy ideas, and the ones that you do are horrible. You've wrecked the economy. Inflation's coming down. All right, if I'm in a car and I'm driving 90 miles an hour and I slow down to 43 miles an hour, well, I've certainly reduced my speed, but I'm still moving forward, aren't I? Inflation's coming down. They look and they see the whole place falling apart, and they know that it wasn't always like this, and they know that it doesn't have to continue to be like this, and they are reaching out and they are saying, okay, you know what? We're going to try something different. And rather than trying to reach these people, they double down on contempt. If we handle this the right way, we've got 4 years of Trump, we've got 8 years of Vance to look forward to. But right now is where we need to dig in our feet. And there is nothing positive and nothing productive to be accomplished by digging in our feet and just screaming at the other guys the same way they've been with us. Yeah, well, if they were winning, they wouldn't be. Yeah, you're right, they wouldn't. So what? If they had won, no, they wouldn't they wouldn't be so nice to us. They wouldn't be so accommodating to us. You know what else they wouldn't be doing? Getting anything done. They'd be implementing the same globalist policies. They'd be wrecking the economy. They'd be printing money. They'd be reallocating things. They'd be redistributing the wealth. Wacky ass social engineering, critical race theory, DEI, the same nonsense that got us into this mess. That's what they'd be doing. We have work to do. Shut up and do the work. If someone inquires, where are you going with that? You don't owe them an explanation. The American electorate has given our leaders a mandate. What they do with that, we have to keep the pressure on them. Focus on getting things done. And where does all of this start? It starts in your own home. Getting back to what I'm saying about evangelize by example. Show the people that you work with what kind of human being a Republican, a conservative, and a Christian is. Resist the urge to use the F-bomb as punctuation. And believe me, I'm one to talk. For you guys who have been around for a while, particularly people like Dennis, who have known me since, 89, 90? The F word was punctuation. You see the great pains that I'm taking to clean that up. Sometimes it's just a little act of inappropriate humor that can undo a ton of damage, or that can create a ton of damage and undo a whole lot of good work. More to the point, I was misspoke. You can lead by example, and then you jump in and start catcalling with people, and suddenly you know better than anybody else. You go out, you get trip hammered drunk, right? Oh, that was productive. How about instead you go to the gym? Improve yourself. Whether you're a person of faith or not, if you are, then scripturally you're admonished to be the best child of God that you're capable of being, be the best servant for the kingdom that you're capable of being. And we all fall short. I'm not being pious Pete here, trying to tell you that we got to be flawless, but do better. You know the places in your life that are lacking. Pick them up. Straighten the ship. Evangelize by example. Politically, get yourself right. Don't be hateful for the sake of being hateful. Don't take the easy jab just because it's there. Take the higher ground. Don't apologize for who you are, but don't pile on. Take the higher ground and evangelize by example. Be the kind of person that when they look at you, they say, oh, that's what a conservative is? Dude, all right, Be that guy, and I know you guys have heard this before, right? You guys have even said this before, or for groups of people that you ordinarily might not like, have some disagreement with, right? Well, if every liberal, if every Democrat were like that guy, man, I'd have no problem with the Democrats. Maybe it's a racial thing. Man, if every black guy was like this dude, man, prejudice would disappear. Be that guy for who you represent. If every white, Christian, conservative, cisgendered man were like the Reverend, dude, what a great world this would be. I could totally get behind that MAGA thing. Be that person. No matter what demographic you take up, you be the best that you can be. And evangelize by example. Be the change that you want to see in the world. Yeah. Pollyanna as hell, isn't it? But we've got the upper hand right now, and we've got the initiative, and we need to seize that. Politics is downstream from culture. We gave the mandate for the politics. That's square. We got to keep the pressure on them, but we handled the politics. But politics is downstream from culture. Let the politics handle itself, and we start winning the culture. Don't be too proud to reach out. But also don't be so weak that you roll over and play dead, because we have nothing left to apologize for. We owe them nothing. Do not back down. There's nothing to be accomplished by going on the offensive and just, pissing on somebody else's candle. But we don't have to put up with the candle pissers either. The ones who want to down people for trying to make the world a better place because they don't agree with the way that we're doing it, forget the candle pissers. We don't have time for it. We owe them nothing. Move forward. Boss Man has blessed us beyond what we deserve. We need to take that opportunity, make the most of it, and win back the culture. We win back the culture, the politics will take care of itself. I am the Reverend, that is the gospel. Let's close with a short prayer. Lord God, help us to evangelize by example. Help us to be aware of how we present ourselves to the world, Lord. Help us to be aware of how other people view us and what that says about how we represent. If we call ourselves Christians, what is it about us that we are showing to the world, and how are they going to perceive Christians? Because that's what we're going out with on our shield. If we claim to be conservatives, Lord, if we claim to be children of God across the board, what are we saying to the world when we go out with that on our shields? Help us to be aware of that, Lord. And to be that better example, not because of how it's going to look to everyone else, but because we are admonished to be the best that we can be, that it be pleasing in your eyes, Lord. That we be the best that we can be, not for other people's perception, but for the sake of the kingdom. Omnia ad regnum, all things for the kingdom, Lord. And if we've got gifts, let us put it to work for the kingdom. And when we're ready to fight, we're ready to fight on behalf of the kingdom. And no matter how much we carry ourselves going forward, we know that the enemy's not just going to roll over and play dead, Lord. We know that this isn't a fait accompli by any stretch of the imagination. They are going to come back at us. They are going to come back hard, and they're going to come back with every tool that is at their disposal. Help us to maintain this strength mentally, physically, spiritually, to take the battle to the enemy. Help us to stand on the mandate that the people have given us, and stand in such a way to say we are going forward with or without you. For your own sake, let it be with. If you don't stand with, then stand aside. Because we are bringing the fire. We are bringing the fire, Lord, and we are bringing the fight, and we are willing to take it to the enemy. Best that they stand with or stand aside. Because either way, we are carrying it forward for the sake of the kingdom, Lord. We have a culture to change. We have a nation to save. And we have the very roots of Western civilization to defend. This is just one small step going forward, Lord. But let us count it as a blessing. Give thanks for it. Capitalize on it and use it to its maximum benefit. When you give us a blessing, let us take it for what it is and carry it forward, Lord. When you give us an opportunity, Let us take it for what it is and carry it forward, Lord. Not for ourselves, not to aggrandize ourselves, but for the kingdom, Lord. Because until your return, and we pray for that return sooner than later, we are the ones that have to carry it forward. Give us the strength, the clarity, and the discernment to see those blessings and to carry it forward for the sake of the kingdom. I pray in the name of the risen Christ, whose blood bought our redemption and whom I ever serve. Amen. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here, man. Thank you. I really didn't think we were going to get that deep. But I'm glad you guys are here on a Saturday. Thanks for coming out. I'm going to pass the collection plate around. You guys already know the drill. I'm on everything, man. If anything that I said had any impact on you, if there's anything that I had to offer that you find of value, feel free to drop a couple bucks in the collection plate. I'm on Cash App. I'm on Venmo. I'm on PayPal. I'm on Facebook Pay. I'm on all that good stuff. But that's it's okay, man. Just because we won the election, we've still got another month or two of dealing with the Biden-Harris economy. Some of you guys ain't going to be able to throw down, and that's totally okay, too. Here's what you can do. You can spread the word a little bit. You can repost the sermon to your own social media platforms, whether you're on Facebook, Twitter, wherever you are. Repost it. Just let them know, hey, man, crippled, toothless crane operator with some opinions. He gets on a rants and raves every Sunday for a couple hours. Maybe you'll dig it. Give us the reach, man. Maybe we'll be able to... Maybe we'll be able to get a little bit reach and touch a few more hearts out there, pull the scales off some eyes. But here's what you can do, not just for me, primarily for yourselves. Stone, you know the drill, right? Hashtag live the three. What do you mean live the three? 3 prime directives, and you guys know the 3 prime directives. Directive number 1, the signal to noise ratio is all jacked up. You've got to be that signal that punches through the noise. You got to carry the importance of what's going on through that fog of noise, carry that signal. You got to be that light in a world of darkness. They will try to bury you in the darkness. They will try to demoralize, dehumanize, emasculate you in the darkness, convince you there's nothing left but darkness. That's how they've done for the last 4 years, but we showed them some light this week, people. You got to have that light. You got to carry that light through the darkness. You got to punch that light through to the other side, so other people on the far side of that darkness can see that light, man. It is your moral imperative, your scriptural admonition to carry that light through the darkness. But above and beyond everything else, man, the iron rule. Rule number 3, the prime directive. Strength in a world full of weakness. And I'm not talking about just this kind of strength. I'm talking about here, and even here. It's what's carried the day, man. We stayed strong when everybody else broke weak, and we won the day. Why is strength so important? Because without strength, none of the rest of it matters. Without strength, you're not going to have that punch to get that signal through the noise. Without strength, you won't have the tenacity to carry that light through the darkness, nor the punch to get that light through to the other side. So strength above all. And when you pray, guys, strength, clarity, and discernment, because the enemy, the adversary, is out there. He's the father of lies. He will constantly try to trip you up. Wolf in sheep's clothing doesn't even begin, guys. You got to have that clarity and discernment to know when to use that strength. So when you pray for strength, clarity, and discernment above all. We won, guys. Let's not sleep. Let's not rest on our laurels. Let's pick up this torch and carry it going forward. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. God bless each and every one of y'all. We will see you next weekend. Not going to say which day nor why. It'll be a mystery. God bless y'all. Take care. Thanks. Peace.